So let's walk through Barron and Kinney's normal theory method. Their first method is there an effect to mediate in the first place? Step one. In other words, we're calculating C. Is there a relationship between the predictor and the outcome variable? Is the number of items purchased related to the type of music being played in the store? So we run a regression to determine C and the regression coefficient. The significant effect suggests that a mediational relationship is possible, but not necessary. So we're going to actually put in C, in this case, the regression coefficient. We could also put R squared in here. So how strong is this relationship, and is it significant? If it is not significant, according to normal theory method, we're done. There is no effect to mediate in the first place. And just briefly, as kind of a heads up, this is one of the problems with normal theory method, is that it is actually possible to have a full, true mediation where all of the effects of your actual and first IV are influencing your mediator, which influences your outcome. It's very rare, it doesn't happen a lot, but because the first step of normal theory method is looking for C, and later, when we determine whether or not there's a full mediation or a partial mediation, we're going to compare the final C prime to the original C. There is situations where this theory could miss a full mediation. Again, not very common, but it could occur, and it's one of the reasons why a lot of people have moved on to different ways to look for mediation. But again, I think this is a method that is much simpler to do, doesn't require technical effort, doesn't require understanding of programming or more advanced computer programs, and in the vast majority of times will still give you basically very similar answers to these more complex techniques that we are going to cover. So again, step one, is C significant? Step two, does the predictor cause or have a relationship with the mediator? And again, remember that I'm using the word cause here because normal theory method is, a mediation is a causal model. But remember that cause is a hard thing to prove methodologically. So be very careful when you use the word cause in your actual papers or your results. So is there a relationship between the predictor and the mediator? Can we make a causal claim? So two things are occurring there. First is there that relationship? But also, can we make at least a theoretical or logical argument that the first thing is causing the second thing, that our IV is causing changes in the mediator? So is attention to the music related to the type of music being played in the store? In other words, are people attending to the music more when it's subliminal versus when it is not? So can we determine that playing the music occurs before attending to it? Well, we can in this case. So logically, we can make an argument that attention, time you spend listening to music, does not exist until the music is present. Therefore, we have a theoretical reason to believe for cause. And now we can simply look, is there an actual statistical relationship? We compute A, the regression coefficient for music and attention. And again, a significant effect here is necessary for us to continue on. So again, if step one did not find a significant relationship, we're done. If step two doesn't find a significant relationship, we're done. And again, we'd often put in here, as far as if we were writing this model out or making a diagram, we would either put the actual R itself or the R squared, and again, whether it's significant or not. Step three, does the mediator cause the outcome? Is attention to music related to the number of fishing and camping items purchased by men? Can we determine that attention to music occurs before the purchase? So again, can we theoretically or logically make our causal argument? Because again, mediation is about cause, but also about the statistical relationship. So if it makes logical sense or theoretical sense, we can now compute B, the regression coefficient for attention and purchase. And again, a significant effect, just like steps 1 and 2, is necessary for mediation. And again, if we were creating a diagram, we would actually put the R or R squared here to represent that relationship. Step 4 is the big one. Do we actually have mediation? Is the effect of the predictor on the outcome reduced to 0 or significantly reduced with the mediator in the model? Is there a statistically significant relationship between the number of items purchased and the type of music played in the store when attention is also included in the regression equation as a second IV? A non-significant result is necessary for complete mediation. In other words, C prime has to become non-significant. If there is still a relationship between music purchases after adding attention to the model, attention may not be necessary for subliminal music to affect phishing or camping purposes, but it may be. We now have to test, is there a partial mediation? So again, according to normal theory method, step 5, a reduction in the direct effect does not necessarily mean mediation. It could simply be due to low power in the final model. What we actually now calculate, regardless of whether we're finding a full mediation or a partial mediation, is a Sobel test. And this was designed in 1982, and there's a lot of web pages that allow you to just plug numbers in to do a Sobel's test. It's used to determine whether the indirect effect of the predictor on the outcome via the mediator is significantly different from 0. In other words, we're testing the difference between C and C prime. How strong the relationship was prior to the mediation being added to the model, and how strong was it after the mediation was added to the model. And again, Sobel from 1982 is one of the few people I actually couldn't find through a Google search. I actually found his email and emailed and asked for a picture, and this is the one he sent. So here is Sobel, the designer of the Sobel test that is used in this process. So you go to Preacher and Lombardo's webpage, and they have a Sobel test made easy. You also have some information about what this test actually does. And literally what you're going to be doing is you're going to be entering the unstandardized regression coefficients. In other words, the B weights. So not the R, not the R squared, not the betas, but the actual B weights of each of these relationships you found. That's one of the reasons, though, we can look for mediation in a correlation table. When we're running the normal theory method, steps 1 through 5, we're actually running regressions because we also need the actual regression coefficients, the unstandardized B weights. And what we're going to basically get is the Sobel test. Once we enter that information, and you'll be doing this in lab, we'll get a test statistic and we'll get a p-value. If that p-value is significant, we have mediation. So again, what we find here in this particular test is that types of music is a relationship to type of attention, and that's the relationship between type of music and type of attention is what we're putting in A and SA, and B, the time of attention by number of items purchased, is the relationship of B, and again, those B weights, for B and SB. And again, the actual numbers and where you get them from your regressions are going to be covered in lab. So a partial mediation occurs when the indirect effect is stronger than the direct effect, but there's still a direct effect. The mediator is not essential in the cause-effect relationship between the IV and DV. It simply adds to it and makes for a stronger model. Partial mediation can occur for several reasons. If a direct effect exists beyond the indirect effect is most common, and partial mediation is evident in the non-normal theory method if the direct effect is not nullified when the mediator is added to the model, but we still have a significant difference. In other words, the Sobel's test is significant, but C prime is still significant by itself in the overall model. It did not become an insignificant relationship. It is still significant, it is just weaker. It is smaller than the original C, but it's still significant. So again, Sobel's test tells us, is there a significant mediation? And then if we have a Sobel's test that's significant and C prime is now insignificant, that's full mediation. If we have a Sobel's test that tells us that the mediation is significant, however, C prime is still a significant predictor, just reduced, we have partial mediation.